Hello my witchy friends, welcome to the channel, or welcome back if you are a returning subscriber. My name is Sophie, I am the Midwest Magician, and today we are talking about something that has stirred up fear, fascination, and inspired folklore for over a century. The Ouija board, or more accurately, the spirit board. Since there is so much misinformation about spirit boards, today I'm going to touch on the history, the myths, and how to use one safely. Since we have a lot to cover, I'm going to keep this intro very brief. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So what is a Ouija board? At its very core, it is quite simple. A Ouija board is just a flat surface with letters, numbers, and a planchette, which glides across the surface, spelling out words, phrases, showing numbers, all used to communicate through automatic movement. Now, these can be made out of basically any material as long as it is a flat surface. I've seen people make them with cardboard. I've personally made some with 3-ring notebook paper, and planchettes can be equally as simple. For my 3-ring notebook Ouija board, I used a quarter as the planchette. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or elaborate like you see in the movies or TV shows. But at the same time, a little pomp and circumstance is quite fun. The name Ouija itself is actually a brand name, but it has become very common to use that in place of the term spirit board. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be using the term spirit board. So the main idea behind a spirit board is that it's used to make a connection or kind of a bridge between our world and the other world. It's a way to thin the veil and communicate with the unseen. That could be spirits, that could be your higher self, your guides, different deities, or even a collective subconscious. The communication opportunities are endless with spirit boards. Now let's briefly touch on the history. To put it very simply, spirit boards were used as Victorian entertainment. Now, during the Victorian era, spiritualism was huge, and when you look at what was going on during that time, it makes a lot of sense. Things were very grim, people were dying all around, so it makes sense that survived relatives would be trying to contact those that have passed on. Oftentimes, people would host full-on seances in their parlors just in hopes of getting a glimpse of the other side. So it really makes sense that the spirit board would fit seamlessly into this world. Now, of course, capitalism had to step in, and the spirit board became widely commercialized. By the late 1800s, the Ouija board became a parlor game, and believe it or not, it was widely marketed to families. And just like today, this was something that you could find even in toy stores. The spirit board wasn't something that was seen as dark or forbidden. It was considered a fascinating new way to explore the unknown. But then things changed. By the mid-20th century, a lot of pop culture referenced very heavy themes, and thus out of the late 80s and early 90s, the Satanic Panic was born, and with that came the demonization of things like spirit boards. Movies like The Exorcist turned the Ouija board into symbols of evil, and very suddenly this harmless game from the Parker brothers became a gateway to hell. During the Satanic Panic, really anything that was spiritual or occult was labeled as dangerous and demonic. And unfortunately, spirit boards got lumped into that moral fear. And if I'm being so honest with you, I think we're currently living through a revival of the Satanic Panic. But that's not what this video is about. To me, it is so wild how something once used to comfort grieving families or used as a fun family game night became so demonized by pop culture and mainstream media. And unfortunately, that fear lingers on to right here and now, especially in mainstream portrayals of witchcraft, occultism, and again, anything spiritual. So with that said, let's get into some of the common misconceptions about spirit boards. Myth number 1, you are summoning demons. You're not summoning anything that you didn't invite in. Like any tool, be that tarot, pendulums, or black mirrors, the intentions, boundaries, and protections that you set up are really going to make a difference. Myth number 2, you should never use a Ouija board alone. You can use it alone. It might just take a little bit of extra patience. The planchette might take a little bit longer to move across the board. And if you're planning to write down and record what comes through, you also have to account the time of writing those messages down. Spirit communication really depends on your focus and your energy, and less on the amount of people that are there. And myth number 3, once you open the board, you cannot close it. Spirit boards aren't doors that just stay open. They are instruments of energy, again, just like planchettes, tarot cards, black mirrors. With the spirit board, you start and end a session with intention, just like you would a conversation. And now that we have some of the common myths out of the way, let's talk about how to actually use a spirit board. The first step is going to be to set your space. I like to start off with cleansing the area. You can use any method of cleansing that you'd like, be that smoke, sound, spray. The method is entirely up to you. Next, I like to set up my space. I like to lay out a nice tablecloth, put my board out with the planchette separate. I like to set the mood with some meditation music. Really, the goal is to create kind of a calm and focused atmosphere. And then the final step of setting the space is just getting myself grounded. Step number 2 is setting your intentions. Clarity is absolutely key here. And if you do want to leave it a little bit open-ended to see what spirits come through, that is okay. But I do still recommend setting an intention of, I'm open to speaking with whatever of my ancestors come through for me, not just whatever comes through for me, because then we're leaving that very open-ended and that could potentially invite some things in that you don't really want to deal with. So making sure to be very clear, are you inviting in ancestors, specific spirits, specific guides, deities? Make sure to set that intention and state that out loud before you start your session. Step number 3 is protections. Now, I like to do this separately from setting the space because it is an entirely separate intention. I like to light my St. Michael candle and ask for his protection during these sessions. I think it's very important to have him there so that if something does feel off, he can step in and kick all of the spirits out for you. At this time too, I do also like to light a black candle for protection and also put some crystals around the perimeter of where I am working. Step number 4 is inviting in communication in a respectful way. We always want to approach spirit work with reverence and curiosity and never out of disrespect. Step number 5 is opening the session. So you want to place your fingers gently on the planchette. Stay relaxed and get yourself into a meditative state. Don't force any movement. If you're doing this alone, everything is going to be quite subtle, especially when you're first getting started. But once you're in that state of mind, you can go ahead and start asking questions and begin your session. Once you are finished with all of your spirit communication, that is going to be ending the session with intention. You are going to want to thank the spirits for their time and their energy, say goodbye, and then give yourself a cleanse afterwards. Something that I like to do after ending a session is making a sacred water to wash my hands in, and really just the ingredients that I use for that is water, salt, and prayer. If you're feeling nervous about doing a spirit board session, really my biggest tip is just to stay grounded and focused throughout the session. In my experience, fear, hesitation, and hysteria really cause a lot more chaos than any spirit would. But I do want to point out that while you're doing a spirit board session, you very well may feel physical sensations, be that touches on the shoulder, your hair. You could feel cold spots coming in and out of the room, and you might even hear things knocking or bumping. That is all totally normal, but if you do get to a point where you are petrified with fear, definitely call on St. Michael, use those protections you put in place, respectfully end the session, cleanse and ground yourself one more time. So with that said, I want to show you guys my personal spirit board. Here it is. I'll do some close-up shots for you guys as well. It is quite large. I love it. I think it is totally beautiful. I went a little bit outside of the traditional board shape with getting a round one. I got this one from Pandora Witch Shop. This isn't sponsored. I purchased this with my own money. I genuinely don't think they even know who I am. It is absolutely beautiful. The attention to detail is incredible, and I know all of their designs are handcrafted. I will say though, if you order from Pandora Witch Shop, please keep in mind that they are not Amazon. They are not some huge company that can ship from all across the country. Pandora Witch Shop is headquartered in Ukraine, so please definitely allow them the time to create your order and get it shipped out. For me, it took about a month, but I was more than happy to wait. It was well worth the wait. It's such a beautiful board, great materials. I can't speak more highly of it. For me, this really feels like a true ritual tool and not a toy. So definitely take the time to find a board that you really like and connect with. Oh, I didn't even show you the planchette. Let me grab that. This is the planchette. Isn't that so cool? Look at those two together. How gorgeous is that? Again, I'll put some close-up shots for you to enjoy. And I do also want to note that when I personally store my spirit board, I actually keep the planchette away from the board. I store this in a separate location. I don't know if that's just out of superstition. For me, it's just kind of a habit and it's something I've always done. So I would recommend that as well, just out of caution. So that is the truth about Ouija boards. They are not evil, just misunderstood. They are a fascinating part of spiritualist history and still a very respected tool within witchcraft and modern practices for spirit communication and divination. If you've ever been curious about using a spirit board, I definitely recommend approaching it with intention and respect and not fear. So I'm curious to know, are you someone that likes to use spirit boards for divination and communication, or is it something that makes you a little bit leery? I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to put together. And if you made it to the end of the video, can you leave a little candle emoji? I love to see who watches all the way to the end. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I will see you guys very soon for the next video. Bye.